Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. I am just wrapping up a knife. Yes, it's a new knife. If you've been following Instagram or Facebook, you might have seen this knife out a couple of times. I think you guys are kind of crooked here. Let me see here. Get you guys sorted out a little bit. You might have seen me give you some sneak peeks about this knife. And I just finished it up, actually, the recording of this video. I've been stressing over this one for a while because a buddy of mine, Greg, if you guys know and you've seen on the channel before, a Marine buddy of mine, he was, well, he's been in the videos quite a bit and everything. Well, him and I got together and he wanted to make a knife for himself. And so I told him he can come on out and I would work with him, you know, this fall and, you know, work on a knife. And it's something we planned on earlier this year in 2019. And originally he was going to do a Coyote Works knife. And he liked the size, he liked the heft, he wanted a bigger knife. He's got a couple of my Jaspers. Recently we just finished up one Jasper. Sorry guys. We finished up one Jasper. And he did a dress Jasper with a full-size tang. I did part of it. He came out and he did the scales, he glued everything on, shaped it and stuff like that, made a sheath and everything. So I helped him with that one. And so he's got a skeletonized Jasper and then a dress Jasper. And the dress Jasper's got the pins that you see. Right here, I'll actually put him in here while I'm talking. And well, we got to thinking and kind of coming out with some different styles and designs, because I had another fella come out and I'm working with, I'm making a knife. I do apologize, gang. It's been a rough go this last few days. I'm actually leaving tomorrow morning for the Coyote Works Overland Rally. And I've been stressing over this knife, trying to get it done. And its shape and everything, it doesn't really lend itself very well to a Kydex sheath. My creative ambition got ahead of me on this one. So I started a Kydex sheath and then I was like, first and foremost, I thought a leather sheath would look better. And then I said, oh man, this is, you know, it's going to take me a while. I don't think I'll have it done to take to the Coyote Works Rally to show off to everybody. But I've been busting my butt and stressing, and take two, I got myself a knife and a sheath. So Greg and I, getting back to Greg and I, we sat down and we started designing a knife because another guy I was designing a knife with, him and I took three of my knives and put them together, and that'll probably come out later after this one. I started designing a knife with Brent, and then Greg saw what I was doing with Brent, and then Greg says, man, I really wanted a Coyote Works knife, but I like the idea of what you guys are doing there, and I like the Rogue, but I like the heft of the Coyote. So him and I drew out a couple of knives, and we ended up doing this knife right here. Actually, I did this. I actually made I made the aluminum stencil and a wood stencil. We both liked it. So we both started it. I started walking Greg through the process. He was cutting it a little bit and kind of getting a rough shape going. So he's got to do his drill tang holes and stuff like that. But I wanted to keep going with mine because I couldn't wait for him. I wanted to bring this to the Coyote Works Overland Rally. So when the video comes out, I've already gone and come back again because, like I said, I'm leaving tomorrow for the Coyote Works Rally. But I got the sheath done. It was awesome. I am so pleased. I stressed so much about doing this because of what this looks like. But anyhow, this is a first. This knife is called the Amarok. The Amarok is 12 inches long, D2 steel. And it's got the full-length taper tang. I skeletonized the tang really good. It has this nice false edge going across the top. And it's got this neat curve to it. It was just something I have not done before, and I wanted to do something like this because I've got a lot of other ideas now stemming off of making this Amarok that I really want to act out on. I really want to do stuff. And being a knife maker, guys, any artist or anybody that gets creative, a carpenter, anything like that, you get very stagnated doing the same thing over and over again. And part of it kind of feels blah after a while. And you really want to stretch your imagination. You want to exercise your brain. And one of the ways I can exercise my brain is trying something new and doing knife designs and stuff like that. Now, granted, I do get inspired by some of my previous knives, but I then turn around and I just like, hey, I want to do this, I want to try that. And the Amarok came to fruition. And I'm really pleased with it. This one here, I actually, not only being the first Amarok I ever did, but I actually, when I was back at Bell Forest Products back in Ishpeming, Michigan, when I did this trip. I'll throw a link up here or something. I got a bunch of wood from them after I did a tour. I bought a whole bunch of different wood. And one of those pieces of wood I picked up was figured Goncalo Alves. Goncalo Alves. Yes, figured Goncalo Alves. I'll put something down here as well as a link to Bell Forest down below. But this wood was beautiful. They had 3 of these pieces, sort of like a short board, just over an inch thick and about, 10 by 12, 10 by 16. I think one was 10 by 18. Not the cheapest wood, I'll tell you that, but they gave me a good deal, so thank you again. I appreciate that, Bell Forest. But boy, it's just beautiful. And so when I started to make this Amarok, I was trying to pick out woods that I'd want to use it with. And one, of course, was my Cocobolo. Second, I was really leaning towards that Madagascar ebony that I did the homeless coyote on and such. I really like that deep, rich, dark brown. That it's like a grayish chocolate brown with some light hues through it. I really like that wood, and they're super hard. But then I saw that Goncalo Alves that I had stuffed away in a box. And even though the Goncalo Alves is only around 2100 Janka hardness, that's plenty fine for what this knife is for and what it's meant to be. As well as I was able to go ahead and after I shaped the knife and everything, I soaked it for 24 hours in that mixture of linseed oil, boiled linseed oil and mineral spirits that I've touched on probably about 2 years ago when it came to, wanting to do things with knife scales. So I soaked I just dipped the whole knife in there just like that, and it sat in there for a whole day. I took it out, wiped it down, then I commenced in making the sheath. And boy, was I stressing over this thing. Just look at this, guys. It's amazing. Again, I did the leather I used, I got from Tandy. I forgot it's about an 8 to 9, oh no, it's at least a 9-ounce leather. I did it all in the same leather, but I double dyed this. And what I did is I actually use Fibings leather dye. I use oil-based dyes. I like the oil-based dye more than the water-based dye. I prefer the oil-based dyes, having been doing this now for a while. So I actually double dyed this. I used 2 different kinds. I used a dark and I used a dark brown, and I used a light brown. And you don't really notice it now because after I did my I did the Obanoff's penetrating wax, the sealant. After you do it all, it really darkens it up, but it brings out the richness because what it's doing is it's actually matching the dark grains of the Goncalo Alves. But this figure Goncalo Alves was just amazing. And as you see here, what I did is I ended up going ahead and I hand sanded everything, and I got another idea about a finish. So I can't say nothing because I don't know how well it'll work. I don't even know if I'll do it to this knife because as you guys see, this is serialized. When I make these are all going to be serialized now. So it's going to have CK001, CK002. Well, it won't have CK001 anymore now, will it? Ha! I got 001. But I'm going to start doing that because I've had several people in the past ask about that, but I was doing them on a production knife like the Rogues for the Warrior Poet Society and the Coyote Works knives. I do so many of them. Having to make more etches and do more stuff, it does take a lot of time for me to do all that. And it's a higher production knife, and I have to draw the line with some of that stuff. But this Amarok, I'm going to make a limited series of these. I'm only going to make a few each year. And they're not going to be really cheap, guys. So I'm not, for some of you that kind of complain about my prices, I got to tell you, again, if you don't know much about me, you got to go back in some of the videos and see what I do. I make these all by hand. I did the leather sheath myself. If you follow the videos, you guys will know. I make the leather. I do everything here. So to say that I'm not going to charge you, oh, it's going to be a cheap knife, it's not going to happen. It isn't. And I'm going to have to say, this Amarok definitely lends itself to being leather versus Kydex. You guys know how I feel about those two things, but I do like the richness of the leather, and I do like how this matches up. So I don't have a price just yet. I'm going to go back down. I got to figure out, think about all that time it took me to make it, what I was doing. But beautiful knife. It's one of my wife's favorite knives, but amazing. And of course, I completely skipped out on a pin. I did the center decorative pin there with the mountain and the moon in there. Just beautiful. I thought that was really nice. Again, being here in the PNW, it's really neat to see that with the trees, but a lot of you could probably relate to that kind of scene. The knife is really well balanced. I mean, for 12 inches long and coming out of 2-inch stock D2, it was something else. But having tapered the tang and then skeletonizing it before heat treat and doing it all, it worked really well. I'm very pleased with this. Again, it's really soft. It's light, man. It's like, oh, it's amazing. I am so happy. Like I said, it took me weeks to work this out and to get it going, and I've been stressing over this leather sheath, so I wanted to share it with you all. And if you're at the Kydex rally, hopefully you got to see this. Like I said, I was just so stoked. But again, it's going to be a limited number. I will have pictures on the website towards the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. This is the only one I've made so far. But I'm trying to finish up the books and do things. So orders for these, if I put the pictures out, again, nothing's going to be, any orders now aren't going to come out until next year, 2020. But there's going to be a limited run on these, and I might only put one of these up every couple of months or something. But there's a lot to go in it, and the price will include a leather sheath. So when you look at the knife and you're looking at the price and you're going, oh my gosh, it's literally going to include, that price will include pretty much everything you see here. It's going to include a handmade leather sheath by me. It's going to include a decorative center pin, and it's going to let you have a choice of Goncalo Alves, Cocobolo, Madagascar Ebony, some of my stabilized woods. Not all of them will fit, but some of them will. So you'll have that opportunity to do that. Plus, it's going to give you pretty much carte blanche to whatever decorative pin you want, whether you want the center one or if you want the 2/4 inch on the sides, whatever. The price is going to include that, but it will include a leather sheath. That's important. A lot of knife makers won't even give you a sheath. Would you believe that? I couldn't believe it. When I went through knives and I started looking at stuff, guys, they charge you extra to make you a Kydex sheath, let alone a leather sheath. So the price you're going to see on this knife, it's going to be serialized, it's going to be a limited run, it's going to come with anything that I offer, and it's going to come with a handmade leather sheath like this. So, of course, there'll be color selections on stitching too. I'm working on that as well. I've got about a dozen colors that you can intermix. So that's also, I'm going to be working on the website. But I'm sorry the video's long. I'm babbling. Thank you all very much for all the support. I do appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know, keep me from the bottom of the YouTube bucket, right? And again, thank you guys. Check out the website later on. Keep an eye out for more pictures and video. But we'll see you in the next one.